Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Polina here talking to you about the month of October. And yes, of course, all 12 signs are up now on Patreon, so please check them out if you like. And yes, I'm also starting to do little drawings for people, so if you'd like a little drawing like this one, you can book me for a drawing. Just message me through the website and I'll be there. And yes, there are only 2 or 3 days left, 2 days I think in September, to book your 341 question. So here we are. Okay, so October has a very, very dark and meaningful energy. The past is going to bite. So for example, if you haven't yet done the work, if you have any karma, if you have karmic residues also from your family tree, if you don't really know who you are and what you need to survive or thrive in this world, is going to get really dense and dark for some people. And then also on the upper hand, everything is exactly where it's meant to be. Everybody is in exactly the same place maybe as always. Certain people are going to return to previous jobs, previous basic living situations. There are also very phenomenal prizes given out this month for doing a great job. So for example, you might have a pat on the back, or you might have a prize or a certain type of opportunity, or just a very, very easy knowing as to how far you've come and how come you got there. So for example, people being commemorated for doing the best job that they could have done, people being very excited also about a person that's thriving naturally. And a lot of people, I feel, are going to have quite a lot of romance, joy, sensitivity, peace, and kindness given to them. It's very easy to see a winner from afar. So a winning personality, a winning person, a brand that works incredibly well, or a certain energetic escrow or a power that has always been well is going to start to come through during this month. So all these median grounds, because Libra is kind of the median plateau, median grounds, you know, having, for example, a course of sorts that you're doing that, or that you're taking part in, that fully answers you, having things absolutely safe, having things absolutely balanced, and also making friends very easily because of a certain type of balancing and rebalancing that Libra is doing during this time. And Libra will be showing us or telling us a story of also how to get there if we haven't yet achieved it. So sometimes people really feel out of place, they've missed the boat, they have been taking too long, and in some stories they would have missed an opportunity, or they would have gone the wrong way for maybe quite a long time. And now Libra has a very, very nice and safe option for you. Safe options, safe guiding places. For example, a safe place to be for somebody who hasn't had a home for a long time. Having a safe, beautiful space to work from. Having a nice, loving relationship finally surface in your life. Having a best friend. Also having a guru or guide or a teacher. And it's a very, very nice and sensitive placeholding that Libra gets us to take during this time. So it is a space where we can be, a space where we can sleep, or just a course that we can take, or something that we can do nice and safely while we are growing the root system back. So in certain situations, people have missed the point, they missed the bus, they haven't met anybody, or they haven't really meant what they've done. So there's a certain type of distance from success, or distance from totality. It's like, I didn't receive it, I haven't gotten there, or my life is disappointing. And then Libra has many, many checkpoints, many people, and many ideas that will be a placeholder for you to help you graft yourself a better life. So this is really great for addicts that want to receive healing. This is really good for people that don't have anybody, that haven't yet met anybody, and also people in certain cultures and systems that are really suffering at the moment. So for example, living in a city that has just gone through an earthquake, or trying to get your life together after a certain type of overflow, we are going to really be able to use this time to help each other grow and try to come back to a certain type of center. Not everybody needs help. but in some cases people really do. And how to basically define things, or how to live onwards from here, because we've gone through the first half of the year. Between March and September there's a first half, and here October till March next year, or February next year I should say, is a kind of placeholding. It's the second half of the year. It is that quadrant between Libra and Sagittarius also, that speaks of relationships and trying to tie in and find the pieces that didn't fit the first time. When you are there, you really, really know it. Like, wow, I need help, or wow, I really wish somebody would step up and show me the way. And in certain cases, you might be a very silent person, and sometimes you can see a person who's reached an incredible level of success through a certain humility and lack of participation. Sometimes there's going to be a very, very wealthy, healthy, and wise person that shows up, but because of their success and their wealth and their wisdom, or their abundance or openness to life, they might not necessarily be seen. So the people usually on the forefront of the events during these days are going to be ones that need help. So a person that's screaming and yelling and feeling very feverish or feeling very emotional during Libra, which is a very placid, sort of pacifying energy. It's like a plateau. The person doesn't want to speak, that is seeking sympathy or seeking some kind of justice in their life. That person isn't going to probably be there very fast or get there very fast, but they're probably going to attract quite a lot of action and cause and effect to try and help them or heal them from their past. So in a sense, a person that is very, very, very external and altruistic and super interested and super also escapist during this time may be actually somebody who is asking for help. And then quite a lot of secure people, quite a lot of people that have reached a certain state of perfection, they might not even know it. So it's like you might not even know how lucky you are. So a person that doesn't feel achieved as usual in life may be the one making a lot of energy, external energy. And then others that don't really want to participate sometimes with anybody or anything are usually very cooked and very placed together. So that means that their concepts have reached a certain plateau. They have empowered themselves enough to take a load off and no longer worry about other people's business. So to ask for somebody to be in your game that doesn't like you or doesn't want to participate is really hard. And I'm seeing that people are very also genuine in terms of wanting to participate. If you are not getting anywhere, if you cannot gain a participant in your life, if you can't help also yourself, it's a very feverish energy, and that usually happens because of some kind of a blanket of cause and effect. So that means that through mistakes in life, or sinfulness, or different types of delegations that didn't have to be, a person feels broken and they're like a baby crying and asking for sympathy, asking for loyalty, asking for involvement. The worst thing that we can do today is ask and keep asking other people to participate in our lives. Either they will or they won't. Or they won't. So either you have a lot of messages and a lot of people and a lot of stories that are tied, because life has figured out a way to keep people afloat through these interactions and these binds, well, there's just not going to be. So if you, for example, have no place, if you have no peace, and you keep on bombarding other people with messages, or keep on getting very emotional and in your face and confrontational, risque about your materials, or you are asking others to participate in a very, very strong and emotional way, I would probably tone it down a notch and see what is actually happening in your psyche and what you really have to do. So sometimes people, for example, want to make a sale more than they want to make contact, or more than they want to just, have some self-esteem and enjoy their day. Some people want to make friends more than they want to hold back and think about what they're actually saying or feeling. So this kind of subdued, slow turning energy is probably the one that will help you. So how do you know when things have come to a certain type of plateau or when they completely face themselves? So the mystery of life and all this hullabaloo, all this messiness, and all of these different thoughts and feelings and ideas start to kind of compress into just one layer of life, one slice of reality. So that means that everything that has gone on, everything that happened kind of settles. It's like the dust has settled. If you are one of these people for whom the dust has settled, you probably will see it. And many of us have it in lots of different ways. For example, if you know that you have fully settled into a home, or you have a relationship that is fully settled, or your business works incredibly well, you don't have to keep on asking anymore, or your exercise routine or your health routine settled, and now you have a nice plateau. It's a very nice, gentle feeling. So there's no more than this as well. Yeah. So some people want more constantly, sometimes there's just no more, you know. So you don't have to keep on redesigning things, you don't have to keep on asking questions, you don't have to keep on pulling the blanket. There is a really nice niche also that most people have taken, and for good reason. So in a way, the prizes are given out now. It's like a secret little sensitive question of, well, who is the best? Who got there? Like, who's the person, who's the leader, or who is the most well-to-do or well-composed energy? And here, in a way, human beings and also nature, in a way, will kind of give respect and full confidence, full empowerment, or full credits to somebody. And sometimes this can be seen through a decision that is waiting to be made. Sometimes it is seen through friendships and interactions, the place that you hold for other people, how much people in the community you're able to touch and talk to, how many people are listening to you, or what is your choice. So, for example, being offered a grand prize could be recognizing that you're really nurturing yourself to the point where other people are asking you for advice. That's a grand prize. Being chosen for something, so having one of your pieces, like if you're making art, for example, or some of your words remembered and credited or quoted. Having people want to come to your house is also interesting. Having somebody attracted to your energy, also making sense, so this is when you publish that book. This is where you get asked to be a star in the movies. This is where you get offered a prize or some kind of a project to do. Sometimes it is to do with signing things, like, for example, being signed to a brand, being signed to a piece of land. Also marriages, contracts is what Libra loves and really knows. If you ever felt a little bit oblivious and skewed in terms of where you really stand, this is not where you argue things out. This is where you basically settle in and recognize who it is that is around you, what your options are, and how pulling or how emotional are these different ideas or options. How inspiring are they? So if you're in a really, really good place, it is probably quite a lavish, slow turning month. In a big way, it is a question of maturity, because Scorpio eventually will be asking us directly about our maturity levels as we're going to the top of the sky. So Scorpio, Sagittarius, also Capricorn, it is all about becoming more mature and eventually getting to a very sage stage of your evolution, whether you are young or old. And then eventually we'll basically bring it all back through Pisces and come back to a new beginning in Aries. But I don't want to talk too much about this. I just want to kind of help you evolve through this particular month. So like the whole body knows that it's done something well. And in a way, Libra is a remembrance of Leo. So all the masculine and the feminine signs, that have a sign between them, they're all connected. So that Leo energy, that heart and that gregariousness and that lusciousness and that freedom of expression and that feeling of abundance or that feeling of creativity is going to now be remembered, but it is going to become more compact and more sometimes shallow. It's true. It may not have as much fire or passion to it, but it is going to be great. So it's going to be great. So this is like when you finally get your business cards, from the printers, and you go, this is great. When you finally get your home all figured out and feel, wow, this is awesome. or this is when you finally recognize the next stage of your relationship or relationships. It is a very nice, compact feeling. It's almost like a magic energy. When things come to a state of perfection, which is what Libra is about, when they come to a state of equilibrium and real peace, and real sense of tact and style is realized, real sense of taste is realized. All things are brought together into kind of a numb energy, because Libra is the only also inanimate sign, truly. It's kind of a numbness, but it's also a pleasure. This is the pleasure somebody gets from aesthetic. This is a pleasure somebody gets from just having a very clean and beautifully organized space. This is the type of pleasure that you get from having your best friend around and already, letting the conversation speak itself without having to force anything to go up or down. So this is a very beautiful time for holding space and understanding, respecting and reflecting. So this is about also things fading out by themselves. Like talking too much, having too much to do, running errands, having to be in two places at the same time, walking with chaos, having a very messy scrapbook of life, having a super unorganized life. That's going to start to end, but that's not going to be the same for everybody. Some people have to walk into absolute garbage situation, like absolutely, like uncomfortable situations. They have to face parts of themselves. That is how, that is why. So in chaos, there's also relevance. And sometimes we don't have to step into it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. You just basically notice that if your life has brought you chaos during October, you had to face certain elements and respect them. Or you had to sit alone for a while eventually and get to really recognize and nurture what parts of you are not working, or what for has your biology or has your genetic driven you to something that you didn't have to experience. And for some reason, it could be a genetic thing. So, for example, if you come from a very energetic, emotional, hot-blooded, wicked family, you won't be able to resonate with the peace and the power of like Zen that Libra has to offer. During this time, you might be unnecessarily looking to butt heads and walk into conflict as if a certain type of hereditary pattern. So we have to also understand this. Sometimes we'll have certain patterns that don't necessarily respect us or give us the best place in the world. So we live in a modern world where you can choose, but in some ways, in some families and in some demographics, these modern patterns, like say having peacefulness, having a certain range of things that happen in your life. Minimalism is a great pattern that the modern age has helped us understand. For example, having more freedom in your marriage, or having choice, like the freedom of choice, whether you do not get married, or whether you do not even talk to somebody or have certain experiences. The power of choice is incredible. Please see, like, you probably have a lot more choice than your ancestors ever did. So that's a really, really nice closure. It's like, I have choice now. Even if my mother taught me to be this or that, or my father screamed at me, or other things happen, or in my history, in my timeline, or even in my original religion, culture, or place of birth, there were all these shadows, and there was all this energy, or there would have been a lot of maybe even warfare for some people, or conflict. That has set you guys up as a people, So for example, I've met many people for whom talking in a raised voice is normal. Being physically hit at home by a parent was normal. And I know that now that there are options beyond it, also having certain experiences when I was young. But at the time, I didn't know there were other options, So for example, for you also, it would be wise to close down certain genetic and biological mishaps and things that have happened as a kind of community thing. Because, some communities just drink all the time, and they would, because it is almost like the power of community or consciousness of the community is going that way. So it's not about going that way. It's about recognizing peace and centeredness and equilibrium and harmony. And it's just about also realizing that some things are not there some things cannot be done, some things are not respectful of you also, because they don't have a certain peace, pace, or harmony. For example, if you are asking, why doesn't that person call me? Why is that not happening in my life? Why? Maybe because there's not enough space or harmony, or it wouldn't be spacious or harmonious for you. So all Libra wants, especially during a rabbit year, is to create a certain type of, maybe it's glamour. It could be glamour. It could also be a certain type of pace, or it could also be a certain type of design or eternal flow. There are some eternal contracts being signed. There is also potentially a job or an undertaking that you might be able to reach during this time, which might last many years. For example, signing papers for marriage or buying a house or starting a new business. This should never be forced. But if you are naturally protruding to sign a contract or take on a responsibility, this might be for many, many years, if not decades to come. So that's the interesting part of the times, being signed to something or somebody for many, many years. That means that the power of Libra is so huge and magnetic during this time. If you look at the chart, there's Homia, there's South Node, which we should really talk about. There's Mars, there's Make, there's Sappho, there's Pallas, and of course there is the Sun. So there is so much goodness, there's so much treasure, there's so much epic philosophy and consciousness during this time, and wisdom, that we don't just want to kind of skip around and do things willy-nilly. There is a certainty and there is a certain feeling of eternity. And for certain people, a contract, be it good or bad, may not probably last all their life, but it can also last beyond their life, meaning that their children and children's children may undertake it, or another person of their family, or just another person may be a part of that contract later on in time, or repeat their steps. So these are big imprints, and maybe they are very printable and duplicatable, reproducible energies. For example, you make a beautiful piece of art and then you take a picture of it, or you make many pieces like that, or for example, you have sculpted a beautiful mug and then you make a mold of that mug, and you can make multiple pieces. But not just this, you could sell this mug for the rest of your life. So maybe if you're an innovator, or if you're an artist or a writer or anybody like that, you could be making something that may also be unneedingly reproduced. So for example, somebody stealing your design and then reproducing it, or somebody taking your idea. So that's not something very great. So it's a little bit of a cuckoo nest thing also, I feel, this time. So for example, employing somebody that will do something for you that you cannot generate yourself. Please be conscious of this. For example, hiring help during this time, making a person work. Please understand. Okay, so for example, you have to hire a person for whatever thing that needs to clean things up for you, cook for you, do things for you, manage things for you, or task master for you. Libra is the sign after the worker sign of Virgo, the taskmaster Virgo. So here you have it. Some of the time you wouldn't be able to really do what you want to do or have to do because you have employed somebody, or taken their freedom away to make your purpose or your idea over the top of who they are, where they are. Sometimes it pays. Like for example, your kids are not learning anything at school, they're not studying, so you kind of like making a plan for them or pact with them to, for example, help you at your craft or at your job, so they have a secondary skill, and maybe eventually employing them as a personal assistant or somebody on the team. So for example, you build houses and you're noticing that your son is not spending his time at school and he's not very easy to control, but for example, you can contract your own son or daughter to do something here for you, so that they have more structure and greater philosophy. We have to be very careful. Any contract, from painting a roof to, I don't know, planting some plants, working with your children, working with your home, or I don't know, any kind of employment, even for certain companies, lasts and lasts. So for example, you wouldn't want to do that yourself. Why do you feel it's pleasurable for someone else to do? unless it is something very interesting and special. For example, if somebody really, really loves painting murals, and you book that person to do a mural for you, and they already love it and they're happy with it. Yeah, but sometimes, like for example, if you have a if you have a hotel business and you are now signing people to a certain contract to clean the hotel rooms, it is very doubtful that your staff would be happy eventually, inevitably. So putting pressure on people, having a runner boy or runner girl, making somebody employed by you or do something that you want them to do is kind of trending during this time. But I would be very, very maybe aware that there are certain karmas and there are certain also mishaps that can happen with us should we make that happen. So sometimes it is kind of greater to do the work yourself, like paint a wall yourself, even if it takes you longer. And even if you break a sweat and it's just hard to do it, please be aware it is greater to do things yourself with respect and understanding and also learning through what you're doing than hiring a worker. May be also easier for the worker to do it, but please consider it's a very, very tacky and weird sort of time, especially during this time, to hire help. And it's a very weird time to also feel like you have to do something that you don't want to. And some people are breaking away, starting to recognize they don't want to, for example, clean homes for a living, or they don't want to take out other people's trash. It's not actually like also their issue maybe, but like for example, being the person that books somebody, and especially if you want them to be less paid or underpaid for what they're doing or the service they're providing, you want to take advantage of a difficult situation in terms of money or power or time, you got to be very, very understanding of what that may do for your own karma. So if you don't know what your karma is and you can't really understand, please take care of what you do have. So Libra is one of the best times during this particular year to really care for what you do have. Like this is your kitchen, like this is your job, this is your partner, this is your friend. Things that are steady and are very economical. For example, living somewhere for a really good price, having an incredible idea, that is flowering already, having people come to your house, having things already reach a plateau of success. It is the wisest thing to do during this time is to cherish them, to be grateful for every single thing you have that is actually working out and not show respect to that which doesn't or didn't. So this is like the worst case scenario, people thinking about the past, wanting to get back with an ex, wanting to do something that is rumored, like, hey, did you see online there's this app? And then you can like get really successful with this app. So like all of this hype, it hasn't yet been, or it should have been forgotten by now. Looking too far in the past or going too far into the future is the worst. The better idea is to try and set things up relevantly and healthily as they are, and to watch things grow from just that center of what you have already established. So for example, you have a beautiful blossoming home. From that may come a seed. Maybe you have a wonderful flowing relationship. From this may come an idea. You already have a wonderful business or, I don't know, a creative idea, and that already has started to talk for itself and to gain respect from people online at least, or you have a commercial idea that will come after this idea just because it kind of works, And also in the sense, some big lump sum ideas, some big successes can shade away everything else you ever thought about. For example, one big happy home can make you forget your powerful trauma. One big happy community can make you stop thinking about your previous group of friends. One big feeling may get you to notice what things truly are and what it actually really takes to be successful, healthy, and happy. And that lump sumness, that giantness, that bigness, and that broadness needs to get you to notice how things really work without looking at tiny details and unconsciously looking for self-respect. But disrespect of yourself may happen during this time. So I'll just skim through this and then we'll get into the Scorpio time, which will come at the end of the month, of course, So things that are kind of lucky can happen. Also, sometimes you can get a lucky find, or you can be called to a really great job, or find somebody like really quickly. You know, if it hasn't yet flowered, it might flower in like a moment. There are also big realizations, and as I said before, gifts. But sometimes people kind of stick around weird places. They go where they shouldn't be. So if there is like a voice inside of you to do somebody else's job, to get something epic going that you kind of know will fail, or to need something or somebody in your life that is just tasteless or unaffordable, yeah, like buying something that is incredibly expensive, knowing that you will not have any room for it later, knowing that you will not be able to sustain it later, unsustainable friendships, silly things, silly reasons to talk about certain very, very big topics, just having no tact and having no choice later. So that is something that needs to be somehow burnt out, the need for chaos and personalities. But also, in a way, you might have a certain breakthrough. So this is what also this passivity and this kind of coldness and calmness of Libra does. So you have a very, very nice network of people. You have your really, really nice home, or you have your really, really well associated and feel good feeling, and then something bursts through, because there is a secret volcanism to Libra. There's a suddenness to the Libra character as well. So you'll be everything and nothing at the same time. Everybody is kind of mellowed. The quicker you get mellow, the higher your breakthroughs. Interesting. The more peaceful and more connected you are, the more content you are, the more zen you are, the more feeling good you are, the bigger this contrast. So these contrasts can happen very rarely for some people, depending on your personality and energy. And for certain people, it happens all the time. It's just like, I just fell asleep and then I had a premonition. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna like make this happen, or I had this great idea. So these great rebalances sometimes happen for a reason, but it needs to be very clear. And sometimes the idea is super fast and super crisp, very crisp. Like, for example, I had one of these recently. It's interesting. Like, I walked into a potential place I wanted to rent in a city to run like a little bohemian sort of art and cafe studio. And I just saw it and I felt it and I felt it and I was like, this needs to be olive green, this needs to be gold, this needs to be bamboo, this needs to be that, this needs to be this. Like, it just came over me, like, I know how this works, I know how this works. Sometimes, rarely, you might have it. And I was surprised because I actually looked at the chipping away paint, and the layer previously was olive green, and I was like, wow, this was originally olive green anyway. So in a sense, that was it. You know, so sometimes also your network of friends might jump you or bust you out of previous zones of development. Also singe and burn you out as well of previous situations, being kicked out during this time as possible, or no longer having any way of entering. For example, having a blocked, like, I don't know, YouTube account, or having, wow, a maxed out credit card. That is also a way that the volcanism within Libra, the hidden volcanic activity, can be pushed through. And sometimes it could be very aggressive. But the point of these volcanic moments is to get rid of things and quickly build something different. Maybe out of lack, you've been walking the wrong way. And some of the time, it may take that very big passion, very big burst. And depending on the person and depending on where you are in life and what is your power and what is your strategy, because Scorpio eventually will be all about power, it's always about power, you will have either a great comeback or a great recession. And sometimes it comes as both, you know, so like having a big breakthrough, like a big breakup or a big change, or a huge investment, or like, I'm putting it all on blackjack, you know, that kind of moment during Libra means you might not necessarily know, but it usually is kind of an alignment that you will receive out of even chaos, which is weird. So in a way, it's a chiropractic alignment, you know, it just gets popped into place. Which means that on some level, even sad and phenomenally boring or emotional, scary energies that may take place during this month as an after effect of this volcanism could eventually kind of taper you down into a more pragmatic and more associative way or line of work, or a more cultured, more practical, usually more practical and more sensitive way of taking your steps in the world, because a lot of it is about wanting great success. A lot of it is about practicality and certainty. Yeah. And I know that maybe people are like, but Polina, where's your heart? Like, you got to feel. And I understand, we're going to feel a hell of a lot in 2024. And maybe then, yeah, never mind. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there just yet. But okay, while we're in 2023, we also have Scorpio. So that's a little bit on the side. That's a little piece left over from October, which will not be in Libra. It will be in Scorpio. And as you see, Mars and Mercury, and of course the Sun, is going to be traveling through that South Node and walking to Scorpio. So before we go directly into Scorpio, there is a South Node mystery in the last 2 degrees of Libra. That's not going to help you if you don't know what's up. So sometimes things cannot be controlled, or you'll be having to pay for something later if you haven't done it today. It's like a little bit of an aggressive energy, a little bit of an aggressive area. And after that, we go into Scorpio, which is going to be no doubt clean, significant, professional, able and fully minded, well-minded energy. And it doesn't want us to just talk about it, it wants us to do it. So for example, if you've never really probably also needed something to happen in your life, because you've said it so many times, you'll have to experience it. If you've said some very mean things to a person or behind their back, it might start to grow very fast and it might start to anger at you. Also, this is about infections. So for example, you've had an infection come and go in your body, it might get extraordinary in Scorpio. So like having an extra bout, or like even like an overwhelming energy and very deep sincerity. So sometimes infections also come to the surface out of an incredible need, an extreme need to heal, or a very, very big bout of passion or change. So sometimes if you really, really want to change your life and if you want it to mean something, yeah, but how not to have all this, like how not to have this crazy stuff. So then, yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's like packaging in Libra, getting very, very tight on life results, getting very, very slim on what you do and do not take care of, being very, very short with some people, not explaining yourself too long, not being around, not beating around the bush, as they say, giving it all the thanks and the love and the loyalty that you have. And when we hit that time in Scorpio, it is jealous, it is sensitive, it's emotional. And for a very well packaged person, a very plateaued person, a very respectful person, is going to be very easy. So example, you're in a tight situation and you can use money or power or status or many different things to walk out. Like say, this thing closes down, that's okay, I'm gonna just go over here. It's a very, very alkaline and easy thing. And sometimes people, judge people that, for example, pay their way through. It's like they pay the bill so they can walk away. It's like they take care of their karma by like helping somebody or offering payment, or they just in a very cool and alkaline way just move on. Some things might get extreme on Scorpio, and that means that in some cases it's like if you can afford it, you can leave. So for example, having somebody shake a fist at you, having a very emotional person that feels wronged by you or feels very inflamed by what they heard you said about them or something like that, or people wanting you to pay debts, which is very likely during the Scorpio month. It is going to be very, very easy for certain packaged and respectable people and kind of heavenly people or very blessed people that don't have chaos in their life to afford to just basically take another route. And yeah, it's like you're walking down the street and there's a very scary person walking towards you and they're like got their arms flailing and they're all like this. This is what Scorpio is at the start, and some people can just cross the road and just walk the other way and change directions if they want. Being out of harm's way is the best way to treat the start of Scorpio in October. But in some ways, in some wake-up calls, Scorpio is really, really real and rock hard. It's like, hey, you said you wanted to exercise. Well, let's go exercising every single day. Or like, hey, you said that you wanted to be somebody. Hey, I'm going to train you up. So Scorpio, in a way, has an altruism by the end of the month, and he wants it all to be there for us, and he wants it all to be amazing. And there's lots of people that are powering each other up or pushing each other to be the first, to be the best. And sometimes, yeah, there's certain people that are going to be just basically flicked away or pushed out of a territory and not be offered anything as well. But the best thing to do with Scorpio is that it is an initiating sign, always, constantly, regularly. But here, this particular month of October is going to not just say it, is going to mean it 3,000 times heavier and pushier than before. So confrontations, irregularity, and being asked those very, very difficult questions. If you have a lot to hide, and if you don't have a lot of self-respect, it's going to be very harsh. Paying somebody's bills is very harsh. Being in a relationship with a person that you shouldn't be with, or la-di-da-di-da, or saying something to your kids and then them confronting you, as teenagers, just very, very hard and also dangerous stuff. Dangerous topics may come up during the last phase of October, but that's going to help you grow. So confronting these things, paying that bill, going to the doctor on time, making sure that inflammation or infections do not travel through your body, especially if you get, for example, bitten by a spider or something like that. It would be very, very nice and easy to come to a certain norm and to try to also get not necessarily aggressive but gritty. It's like, I know that person's going to ask me for money, or I can see what this neighborhood is about. It's like, wow, I can see like what's going on here. So it's a very keen eye for detail, and together sometimes you will win. So for quite a lot of people also, Libra is an incredible community-based time. It's a friendship building time, and maybe you do not see it yet, or you don't want to set it up right now, but some people that you have coming to you, walking through your doors or wanting to interact with you could actually be the best investment. So sometimes people are very, very surprised and pleased eventually as to how a friendship could work out or has already worked out. So it's time to really close the gates as well in certain situations. So for example, if you're now noticing very, very sad, depressed, angry, frustrating, or scary people coming into your life, or you somehow enabling chaos to take place, it is very, very good to close the gates. So for example, your mind is open and you're cruising and you're doing lots of things, and then you finally find safety in this community and this holiness or this wholeness. And then if you have strangers come over and do crazy things or say really, really weird things, you have to also know when to call it and how to close off from harm and danger, which is also a lot of Rabbit is about. Scorpio is the most ravenous, radical, angry, emotional sign during this particular year. As you probably remember, maybe some of you, by the 2023 reading series, I did readings for all signs then. It is a very, very dark surprise, but it is also a very scary amount of hope. And yes, as we go into 2024, one of the greatest and most successful signs for 24 will be Scorpio. Scorpios are going to go way out there, way above their previous levels of self-perception or just perception in general. So there's going to be a very, very big a showdown, even I would say, during the next few weeks. So I suppose that it is better to respect it, but also know how to maneuver. And sometimes it is just about money. Sometimes it's about power or force. It is sometimes about living in a castle with a big iron door. Yeah, and some of the time it is just about having faith. And in certain timelines, especially, since Rabbit was a community forming year, culture forming year, it is great to know somebody that can help you and to be guided or to be protected through the family tree or through the family trees of other people, being respectful, being respected, and being given, and also not having to suffer anymore through a nice, close-knit, clean, and caring network, which is what Rabbit was all about. So thank you very much. Once again, I make these things if you're interested in getting a portrait with me. And also, yes, have a look at my Patreon, and there are only 2 days more of the 3-question specials if you're interested in receiving a written reading during this time. Thank you very much, and I hope that you have a wonderful month ahead. Everything in the caption section below. Bye.